Alex Vanover. Welcome back to my craft room. And if you are here for the first time, then welcome, because I am so glad that you're here. In this video, I'm gonna talk about the must-have accessories that you need when you own a heat press. I know that when you get a heat press, it can be really confusing to know what's necessary and what's maybe optional. So I'm gonna give you my list of absolute essentials so you have everything you need to make all of the heat press projects that your heart desires. So let's jump into it. The first and most essential item, in my opinion, that you need when it comes to heat presses is a Teflon sheet and magnets. And the reason that a Teflon sheet is helpful is because it helps distribute the heat evenly among the entire press, and it actually protects your press in case you get any extra heat transfer vinyl on it. And you're like, wait, how in the world would you get heat transfer vinyl on your heat press? It's actually really easy to do, especially when you are layering HTV. If you peel off a carrier sheet and you go ahead and press the next layer, if there's any area of HTV that is exposed without a carrier sheet, it's possible that it gets stuck to the top of the heat press. So instead of having to clean your heat press, instead you can just wipe off your Teflon sheet, and that makes it super easy. And I really like to use a big Teflon sheet like this that I got from 143vinyl.com because it actually wraps around the sides of my heat press, and then I can use these small magnets to actually attach it to the top of my heat press. And the reason that that's so nice is because now I never have to worry about whether or not I remember to put a Teflon sheet over top of my project. It just stays on there all the time and I never forget about it. You can also get these magnets at 143vinyl.com, and I'll link everything down in the description so that you can see all of it super easily. Now, if you're in a pinch and maybe you have a brand new heat press and you don't have a Teflon sheet yet, you can use parchment paper in the short term. Now, make sure that when you use the paper, it is parchment paper, not wax paper, because wax paper will get stuck to your project or get stuck to your heat press. Definitely make sure it's parchment paper. You could even use the magnets to put parchment paper over the top of your press. In the long term, it's not gonna last as long as a Teflon sheet. So I do recommend getting a Teflon sheet when you get a chance, but that is something that you can do in a pinch. Here's how to add a Teflon sheet to the top of your heat press. Start with the Teflon sheet laying across the platen, and of course, always do this while your heat press is off and not hot. Then take 2 of your small magnets and wrap your Teflon sheet around the top of the heat press, like this. Add 1 magnet in the front and 1 magnet in the back. Then take your 2 magnets and repeat the process on the other side. Then after your magnets are placed, you can do any adjusting that you need to do to make sure that it's nice and even and it's not hanging down too much below your platen. Then you'll never forget to add a Teflon sheet to your heat press ever again. So the second item, or I guess the third item technically, that I recommend that you have when you have a heat press is pressing pillows. Now, the size of pressing pillows that you buy definitely depends on the type of projects that you do. I own 2 different sizes, and here's why I really like each of them. So first, I have the 10-inch by 10-inch pressing pillow, which I also got from 143vinyl.com, which everything will be linked in the description below. But I really like this size because on an average large size adult shirt, I typically make my designs about 10 inches wide. So this pressing pillow is perfect for most of those types of designs. I also have I believe it's 5 by 18-inch pressing pillow. And the reason that I like this is for onesies, because I am able to lay the onesie out over top of this pressing pillow with the sides kind of folding over like this, because onesies have super thick seams. And the whole purpose behind a pressing pillow is to actually raise the surface of the shirt or whatever you're trying to press up above the seams to make sure that the heat press gets really good flat contact with that surface. And so sometimes seams, especially onesie seams, can get in the way of that press, and it's not gonna make the press as effective or as even. So pressing pillows are a must. But like I said, you have to decide what size of the pressing pillow make the most sense for you based on what you make the most of. So there's lots of other sizes out there. Just make sure that you check them out. Here's how to use a pressing pillow. So as you can see, I'm getting ready to press glitter HTV on this pillow, which has ruffles around the edges, and as a result, it has really
really thick seams. So if I were to just put my heat press down on this pillow, it's unlikely that the top of my heat press would have really good contact with the pillow because of the seams in the way. So I'm gonna use my 10-inch by 10-inch pressing pillow underneath this to rise the surface up a little bit above the seams so that I can get a really good press. And this is the same process that I follow with t-shirts as well. You can also stick a pressing pillow when you're using it for t-shirts inside the actual garment, but I think that's just a lot more work. So I like to actually just lift up my object and put it underneath, and then make sure that I feel that it's positioned underneath everything before it gets going. So something like this. And this design is a little bit taller, so I may have to do a second press up at the top, but this is gonna help immensely. Something else you want to keep in mind whenever you use a pressing pillow is that it's always going to increase the pressure because it lifts the top up a little bit higher than it was before. So if your pressure is already high, you may want to turn it down a little bit when using a pressing pillow. Then, since I didn't get the very top of my antlers, I'm gonna push my pressing pillow back just a little bit, make sure that it's covering that area. And then I'm gonna do another few seconds on my press. All right, I think that's good. And when this is cool to the touch, I'll peel the carrier sheet and I'll have a really good, really solid press. And there you have it.
And then the final essential item that I recommend you have with a heat press is heat resistant tape. Now this is not available on 143vinyl.com. I got mine from Amazon, but heat resistant tape is really, really useful because when you are pressing anything that is super small, or if it's like a textured item and the carrier sheet of the heat transfer vinyl doesn't want to stick to the like the surface like it would to a normal t-shirt, heat resistant tape to the rescue. It's going to keep that carrier sheet exactly where you want to keep it in place, but you can also heat press this tape and the adhesive is not going to come off on the item or get ruined or discolor with the amount of heat. So I highly recommend having some of this available. Also, if you want to get into sublimation in the future, this is definitely something that you need because you need to use heat resistant tape every single time you sublimate. So this is my list of essentials that I recommend that you have when you get a heat press. I hope that this helps you and guides you toward whatever you need to buy with your brand new heat press. And congratulations if you are a new heat press owner. In case you guys don't already know, I have a Starcraft Mint heat press and I am absolutely obsessed with this thing. Y'all, it is so high quality, it's so easy to use, and that's a whole nother video for another day because I am obsessed with my heat press. So if you want to use the heat press that I use, I'll also put that down in the description so that you can check it out. If we haven't already connected on social media, I would love to get to know you and see what you're crafting. So if you make anything using my tutorials, please use the hashtag DIYAlex if you share it out on Instagram. And if you want to find me on any major social platforms, you can find me as DIY Alex Vanover, and I'll also link all of my social media profiles down in the description below. And if you haven't already, please click right here to subscribe to the DIY Alex YouTube channel. Scroll down just a little bit and ring the bell right next to subscribe so you never miss when I upload a new video, Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope we can craft again soon.